everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to get started on episode 36 of the Case 310G Bulldozer Restoration Project. We're going to bring you along. It is a balmy 19 degrees outside. However, we have all the heaters pumping away on full tilt. We are going to get started assembling the differential, and I'm hoping I have finally put enough blood, sweat, and tears into this dozer that it quits fighting me. Whatever the case, we're going to bring you along, and I hope you guys enjoy. We have everything laid out on the bench according to left and right, including the drums. They have an R and an L on them. For assembly lube, we are using large curd cottage cheese. This is the best stuff you can get. In all actuality, we are using a 90 weight mineral oil. Everybody on the forum swears that you need to use the mineral oil in the rear ends, and I'm sure they're correct because I believe it glazes over the brake bands if you do not. So it's a little tidbit of information. We're going to go ahead and get started assembly of the ring gear side, or the left side of the differential. If you will remember, we took a center punch and we punched each part so that we would get them in the relative same location. That's what it talked about in the manual, so we are going to be paying attention to that. This is kind of where it's going to get messy and gross because this 90 weight oil is so thick. I also need to go ahead and pre-lube all of our bushings, mating surfaces, the gears, things like that, because this shop is not heated 24/7, unfortunately. So we get some sweating issues. Once I get this assembled, it will move into the heated portion to try and counteract that. Sticky. Go ahead and get the splines as well. This portion here, I'd rather have more than I need than not enough, because this could be setting out for some time, because I have not heard back from the machine shop that is making me new thrust washers. Which is a little frustrating, but I know the parts are going to be top quality. I want to go ahead, pre-lube this. Okay, now I'm going to get the small dead blow and start working my way around the middle carriage. Just going real slow. It's working right down in there. We have that fully seated. Everything looks really good. Everything still turns freely. So we're in good shape on that. Now we're going to go ahead and install the right side of the differential and get it all pre-lubed. Check it all over as we go together. Just go real slow, then we will install the bolts and our lock wire. We have everything well lubricated on the innards of our right differential part. Just going to get the yoke or carriage lubricated on the mating surfaces. Again, we're paying attention to our punch marks. We have one right here, one right here, and then the corresponding mark is right there. There we go. It's starting to look like a differential. I think my sun gear. Sun gear's hanging up. I'm gonna have to mop off my hands because we're just putting so much lube on this. Try to tap it back apart. Yeah, that's what happened. Sun gear popped off. Got in a bind. Come back out of there. Okay, let's try this again. Gotta find my punch mark. There we go. Okay, now we're getting good mesh. Let's see. I can't really flop it the way that I want to, because then my sun gear is going to come out of the right side of the differential. So I'm going to have to ever so gently tap it on the table this direction. about dumped our premium cottage cheese. There we go. Okay, now that we're in both bushings, the inner yoke and the right side of the differential, I think I can go ahead, lay it this direction, and keep tapping. We have the unit well lubricated, and you can note we have a dimple right there from our center punch. We have a dimple right there from the center punch, and right there. So we were able to maintain our orientation as we bolted this together. You can see our 90 weight oil, very viscous. Everything's going together properly. We have our hardware separated right to left, so everything goes back on the same side. And then as soon as we get this done, we can install our brake drums and our outer cone bearings, and our mechanics lock wire will go on before that, of course. We're gonna go ahead and pre-lube everything. I am slopping the oil to this girl because I don't want any surface rust once she's all put back together. Then we are going to install our right side bolts, and then we will go into the mechanics lock wire, probably once we get all the bolts installed. We'll bring you along. We have all the bolts installed on the left and the right side. We're going to go ahead and torque those down. Those babies are torqued. We're going to go ahead and repeat the process on the other side. Being a little careful now because everything is getting slippy. Perfect. Off camera, I tackled my first ever safety lock wire. I'm using a safety lock wire 51 thousandths and the cheap obligatory Amazon lock wire tools. Got my Knipex out, got a couple of side cuts, and I think it turned out all right. If you see an issue with this, comment below. I'm going to keep muddling along. I did a couple of experiments over there. It appears to be working. From what videos I watched on YouTube, it is clockwise how these pull. So I'm trying to turn my wire to the right as I go. That's about as much as I know on the subject. Let's go ahead, get started on the next one, and bring you guys along for this one. I kind of take the time to get this coil out. Like I said, it's my first time playing with this stuff, so probably won't go as smooth as someone that's been doing it for 50 years. This looks like it's going to be about the same setup as the last one. I just kind of fished this through. Went about halfway. I clearly used way too much wire for this. Let me see if I can cut this in half. And I watched a guy doing this on an airplane propeller, and he would put some hard bends in them like that. That seemed to help. Not exactly sure. I just kind of work one side of the wire and then the other side. There we go. Now again, I'm going to try to put in like a hard bend here. There were also some of these that were in a figure 8. I'm not sure if that's the proper way to do this, but this is what I'm doing. Trying to keep the wire straight and good looking as well as I go. And then this one is starting to look fairly good. Cut those off evenly. Dispose of the excess. Again, not saying this is the correct way to do it, but we are learning together. Never claimed to be a full-blown mechanic by any means. Just out here enjoying myself. Hindsight being 2020, I probably could have schmooed the outside of this after I did this. This pair of gloves is going to be well lubricated, let's say. So now, let's see, clockwise, this, and then, again, the guy I watched online, he would go ahead and make like a preliminary twist, like that. Tighten that one up a little bit more. There we go. I probably could do this with like a pair of side cutters, but I'm always up for buying a new tool when the situation presents itself. Now I gotta lock these, which can be a bit of a challenge. Now I'm gonna reposition because I gotta pull your guys' direction. Well, I forgot to hit record, That one is twisted fairly tight. We still have one more on this side to bring you along for. It's unfortunate. I think that's one of the first times that's actually happened to me. The gentleman would twist it a couple of times and just get it tucked in where it won't snag on anyone. And I like to take my hammer and just tap them down. I think we're there. Again, guys, comment if I'm doing this wrong. This is what a lot of them look like when I was removing them. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started and try to bring you guys along as I do this one, and then we have 3 on the other side to do. So let's get you on the tripod. I watched a gentleman on YouTube, and he would make hard bends in this as he would go, and I've had good success doing that. I'll try to bring you along as much as I can. This one is going to be a little different from the last couple of ones that I've done. Locking the pliers here. Like I said, the gentleman online, he would like bend this stuff quite hard. He was working on an airplane, so. There we go. Now I've seemed to have the best success cutting these off evenly. Like I said, guys, it's my first time doing this. I cut those off to where they come out even or pretty close to it. And then remembering that my lock wire is going to go clockwise, the gentleman recommended doing a preliminary bend like that. And then I've also had good success kind of tightening up that preliminary bend. Like one good twist with like my little Knipex pliers. I'm sure other ones would work. Then I bring these ends together. This one can be cut off just a little bit more. He's a 1/4 inch longer now. Then I bring these guys out. This might get kind of muffled or your vision might be blocked because it seems like I really have to grip on these to get my lock installed. So bear with me. Okay, hopefully you guys could see that. Now I installed this lock wire because I always assumed these came with a large key ring that you can get your finger in, I don't know if this lock wire is just going to pull apart or not, but I'm going to reposition the tripod, and we're going to twist this together and see how it looks. I'm not sure if you're supposed to like preemptively twist these or what, so I've just been using this end here. Make sure I'm in frame. Yeah, this end right here. You kind of pull on this and then it twists. I can actually twist it out right now. You can see there's spirals on there. So I'm gonna finally try with my finger stuck in this little lock wire that I added and see if that does a better job. And of course, I don't want to pull this off the table, so definitely hard on the finger. Kind of have to get the finger out of there each time. But I think it's working. Hoping you guys getting a good front row seat. Lock wire is definitely not the best thing to have on the end here. The gentleman online, he said, let me get rid of this lock wire, see if it will do better. The gentleman online said you need 7 twists to the inch. I don't know if that was for, I think he was using 42 thousandths, I'm using 51 thousandths. Like I said, guys, we're learning together. It's not really drawing this end in. See, like I can twist it somewhat. Let me put some more hard bends in there, like the gentleman online did. Let me see if I can get one more twist in. I think I better quit with that. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in my little Knipex pliers. Seems to work really good for this. And I will twist this just a couple more times just to get it snug where I like it, if I can. That might be all she wrote. Then you trim your excess. There we go. Let's try the needle nose. Hammer. That's what we're left with. I think we're in good shape. This resembles, like I said, what came out of here. I don't really care for this bend in the far back side, but I think we're there, gentlemen and ladies. Like I said, comment below if I'm doing something wrong, but I think it's working. This is our final result. This resembles what was taken out of here. I'm not saying it was correct. Could have been done by a previous mechanic incorrectly. May have been factory. I do not know. Comment below. I would like to hear your thoughts. If I've done this wrong, let me know. We used a ton of tools. These cheap wire twisting pliers, they were adequate. These were like mid-range, 20, 26 bucks on Amazon. I think the cheapest were like 12. Lock wire is lock wire as far as I know. We'll flip this over, show you the final result on the other side. I'm pretty sure this is going to work. And we're going to move on to getting the drums installed. This was the final result on the left-hand side. This closely resembled what was taken out of here. Again, comment below if I'm doing this completely wrong. Maybe some real mechanics are screaming at the screen right now. This is the remnants that I had. A couple of those were just test pieces, just seeing how these worked. Again, these pliers, I seem to get a better result. I'm not sure if mine are missing the little key ring you're supposed to put your finger in. I would sometimes get a better result just twisting them by hand. You could really dial in the tension that way. I don't know. They worked well for what they were. And the safety lock wire, this is just what I used. Just ordered it straight off of Amazon. Little 1 pound spool will probably last me the rest of my life because I don't use lock wire too often, but I might now that I have proper tools to work with it. So let's go ahead, get started on getting our left and our right drum installed, and then we will jump into a bearing box and inspect our cone bearings. We'll bring you along. Now that we are done with our lock wires, I'm going to give the outer edges another good coating of schmoo, because more is always gooder. I coated our brake drums in PB Blaster just to keep them from rusting. I want to remove that because we're supposed to be using mineral oil, and there is all this gray grit, very small, minute grit that is on the inside of them. I want to get rid of all that as well, because I don't know if it would, but it could get into our brake bands and glaze them over quicker, or the grit could destroy them. I don't know. So we're going to go ahead, clean these in the parts washer one last time, then we will give them a liberal coating of mineral oil, and we'll get moving on assembling this girl. I wanted to give a shout out to my nephew Ezra. He built this angle iron frame underneath of the parts washer. This makes it to where we can move it much more easily, and it brought it up to the right height where you're not bending over and your lower back isn't screaming at you in 30 minutes. We have our parts cleaned and dried, relabeled with a Sharpie for left and right. They still look fantastic. Can't get over how well those came out. And we have a liberal coating on literally everything. You can see we've got gear oil throughout the entire system, a lot of it. I would rather have this thing oozing everywhere than to be surface rusting. So that's what I decided to do. We're going to flip these over. We're going to apply a liberal coating on the inside, the bushings, one last time on the bushing surface, and then I've got to get into my bearing box and find our outer cone bearings that I've already had ordered from our friends at Industrial Bearing Supply. I realized I was still in time lapse. Not a lot missed here. We just have a bushing sliding onto the bushing or bearing surface, and then these outer planetary gears right here, they mesh with this gear here. There we go. Everything is just beautiful. I could watch that spin all day. I think what I'm going to do now is go ahead and get our bearing out and installed, because as soon as I roll this over, this is going to try to fall off. The previous bearing is a 25581, and it is a Bauer, USA made, of course. Our friends at Industrial Bearing Supply supplied me with the NTN bearing. These are made in Japan. Part number 25580. Same bearing. I went ahead, I mic'd all this. Everything's coming out to 1 3/4 inches. They're coming out to 1 inch right here, just a few thou under, give or take. And we've got us a good quality bearing. I've been using NTN bearings for many, many years. I have had zero issues with them. Part number on this is 4T-25580. So we've got us a good direct replacement. Like I said, my friends at Industrial Bearing Supply, they always fix me up with these bearings. The corresponding outer race from NTN is a 4T-25520, and the corresponding outer race from Bauer is 25520. So we have a good direct replacement here. Everything's miking out the same. I had to weld this one to get it out. It's kind of always the breaks of the game with these. Let's go ahead and get this installed. We're going to start by grabbing just a little bit of lube out of the other brake drum. Won't need too much. This, of course, has already been lubed. Just make sure there's a nice thin film on it. Now I'm going to go ahead and get started with our seal driver. Give it a visual inspection. See that we're going on straight, and we will continue. Getting very close. Okay, now if I remember correctly, this actually sits a little proud, so I'm going to have to switch over to a socket. I've got an 1 5/8 socket. This is just a no-name brand, Tractor Supply Rural King. We're going to go very, very gentle now. Switch back to our dead blow. Yes, it is coming through proud. Everything's still free. Looks like we have about a 1/16 of an inch to go. We're almost there. I'm going to give that just one more tap, and I think we're there. We're there. I can barely get the brake drum to click, so we're up against the shoulder. Now we can move on to this other side. You can see here everything still spins freely. It's just beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Excellent. Let's go ahead and do the other side. This side is more of the same. This is the left side. There we go. Perfect. I can just feel that it's just a slight shoulder sticking out, so I really don't think we can drive our bearings too far, so to speak, but we still will proceed with caution. Same as before, we're going to pre-lube the inside of the bearing. We've got some leftover schmoo on the table here from it oozing out, which is exactly what I want. Make sure she's good and lubed up. Okay, now we're just going to get this started while we're on this angle, then we're going to stand the entire assembly up. Okay, we're started. Now I've got to reposition. Pay no mind to the cows outside. I promise you they do have food. There we go. Got my safety glasses on. We're going to go ahead and coat our outer brake drums, the bearings, very well, and then we're going to wrap up the video. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to conclude episode 36 of the Case 310G Bulldozer Restoration Project. The differential has been well lubed and reassembled. We turned the brake drums. They turned out excellent. Everything went together without a hitch. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. And we'll see you next time.